We've been sort of having a GoToWebinar chat, if you will, while everybody was piling in. But let me just formally introduce myself. My name is Kim Snyder. I'm the founder of the API Guys, and I also want to start out by just saying thank you, thank you, thank you for being here this evening. I have to say that I have been doing webinars for, I don't know, maybe close to 12 years now. And this is the most people I have ever had in one of my webinars by far. I am astounded at the turnout for this webinar, and so we must have hit a chord. I mean, granted, I'll concede we marketed the heck out of it, but yeah, we must have hit a chord somewhere. Carol says it's the title, so that's awesome. But again, I know your time is valuable, and so I want to be respectful of it, and I want to make darn sure that the time that you spend here, that you get value from. But I did just want to say thank you for being here. So our topic today is secrets and lies, how to build campaigns like the top 1% do. So I am going to cover, if my slides would advance, there we go. I am going to cover one lie and two secrets. One lie and two secrets. And in between that, I'm going to also talk about our Art of Campaign Building Mastery course briefly. But the lie is that Infusionsoft can't. The secrets are that you can do the same work in half the time and make twice the money. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to let out the secret, this last secret, because it's the big secret, the one word that is key to earning more money and becoming one of those top 1%ers. So we will cover that last. But that's going to be the agenda. I'm going to leave approximately 15 minutes for question and answer. So be sure and type your questions in as you think of them, so that you can make sure to get those answered. And then we'll do that sort of right in the middle there. So here's line number one, that Infusionsoft can't. Now, I have to tell you, I hate the word can't. With regards to Infusionsoft, number one, I think it's a lazy word. But number two, every time we say Infusionsoft can't, it creates frustration and resentment. Now, I don't know about you, but I suspect everybody on this call, in one way or another, deals with the frustration and resentment around Infusionsoft. Either as a professional, you are on the phone with people who, when they run into the word can't, become frustrated and resentful, or you are, in fact, one of those users of Infusionsoft who, while trying to get things done, runs into the word can't, and want to, as the slide says, bang your head against the wall. One of the things, though, that makes me crazy, and the reason I say it's a big lie, is what I have figured out is a couple things, but predominantly that we have just become complacent about what I will call Infusionsoft's native limitations. Because the fact of the matter is, it can. It can do anything you want. You just have to figure out how. And this is what I mean by number one, it can, and number two, I think we get lazy. I want to tell you a very quick story here. So I have recently started working with, well, I should say we, the API guys, not just me, but all of my team, have recently started working with some of the teams at Infusionsoft. And one of those is their sales teams. And so what happens now is that when someone's on the phone with a customer who wants to buy Infusionsoft and they can't do what needs to be done for the customer, they get us on with the customer and we figure out can. Now, there was a situation here just the other day. This was so interesting. So this customer that was this sales rep was working with to get on into Infusionsoft was currently on Sugar CRM. And the reason he wanted to come to Infusionsoft, of course, was for the marketing automation, because Sugar did not have that marketing automation. But there were a couple deal killers for the customer, which is how I got involved. One of those deal killers was that he was a they leased copier equipment, capital equipment, and what they needed to be able to do was track all sorts of information specific to each piece of equipment that they sold, the model number and the manufacturer and the expiration date of the warranty and when the lease expired, and they needed to be able to run campaigns off of that information, particularly off of those lease expiration dates. And it was not only possible, but very often there were multiple pieces of equipment that were sold into the same contact, and so it was a one-to-many relationship. And of course, immediately they said, "Well, you can't do that." So they brought me in to figure out how to do that, and I said, and you're actually going to see how I'm able to do that, and this is part of how one percenters build campaigns. So I said, "Oh, well, that's actually very easy. What we're going to do, did you know that there are actually custom fields within orders? And so what we're going to do is every time an order is placed, we're going to write all of that information into custom fields within the specific order. And yes, I have a way that I can run automation off of the order rather than just off the contact record. Piece of cake, I can do that for you." And the sales rep at Infusionsoft was like, "You can?" I was like, "Yeah, not only can I, it's actually not that hard. At least not with Pocket Developer, it's not." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you just saved this sale." I was like, "Sweet." So we go away, and a little bit of time passes, and he shoots me a note back, and he says, "Kim, I need you to get on the phone with this prospect again. They've decided that they want to stay with Sugar, and they want to integrate Sugar with Infusionsoft." Wait, never, well, I don't want to say never a good idea, but almost never a good idea. And I'm like, "What?" So anyway, so we get on the phone again. This was like 2 days ago with that client, the sales rep and I. And this time the issue is reporting. So apparently the CEO of the company regularly goes to this guy who's the decision maker, the general manager, and says, I want this report, I want that report." And of course, we know that Infusionsoft reports is not its strong suit. And so they wanted to integrate Sugar. They wanted to keep Sugar just because, so that they could create reports. And the sales rep brought me in to tell this guy how much it was going to cost to do that. And so anyway, long story short, at the end of the call, I'm like, "Well, that's stupid. That's not how you do it." What we do, we have and this, by the way, is a pro tip for you. Okay, so there's a little tip in this story. So we have a framework that we use whenever we're talking about integrations, and it's really we call it the hub and spoke, or the best of breed hub and spoke framework, where one of the applications kind of has to be boss, and in this case, it would be Infusionsoft. And Infusionsoft and Sugar would have been two bosses. But then what you do is you take whatever is the best of breed solution for the things that Infusionsoft can't do, and you integrate those. And in the case of reporting, Sugar is not best of breed for reporting. Sugar is a CRM. So I said, "Well, look, you guys, much cheaper alternative is to actually just sync the data you need in Infusionsoft to a little database like FileMaker Pro that has great reporting capabilities on it, and then you can spit out custom reports for your CEO until your heart's content. It won't cost you hardly any money relative to what we've already quoted you." And anyway, long story short, when they got off the phone, he says, "Oh my gosh, you've just saved this deal twice." And sure enough, at the end of the call, the potential customer says to the sales rep, "Send me a proposal. I'm in." Now, a flip side of that is, that very often, I had another call just the other day where, some of the sales teams at Infusionsoft haven't become quite so enlightened, right? And they just promise things they can't deliver, and maybe you've experienced that. And anyway, this poor gal has been like trying for 4 years to get this done, something that's really actually literally not that hard. She was on the phone with Infusionsoft the very morning she spoke with me, and Infusionsoft told her, "No, it can't be done." And in fact, it could be done. It just, it took you just had to know how to do it, right? And so this is what I mean when I say I think we've become, it's just easy to say no, right? That's the easy way out. Or it's easy to say yes it can when you have no idea how it can. So here's the deal, right? If we um can learn how to get to can, right? Can, in the case if you are selling Infusionsoft, if you're one of those people who sell Infusionsoft, can save the deal, as you just saw. So it's important to understand how to get to can. If you're one of the Infusionsoft professionals on this call, can positions you as an expert who can command expert fees, right? And I think you can probably see that from the vignette that I just shared with you. And if you are an Infusionsoft power user, okay, which is the rest of you on this call, can helps you realize the full promise and potential of Infusionsoft, because it being able to do those sorts of things that I'm talking about, not an integration, not any of that, but like, being able to write information into custom fields in an order, you can do that. If you know how, you can do that. And so those things allow you to find money and produce ROI. So we need to stop. One of the things that we're going to do around here is we're going to start to banish can't, a word that I hate, and work more around this idea that Infusionsoft can. You just have to know how to do it. Okay. So that's lie number one. Here's our first secret. Our first secret is that you can do the same work in Infusionsoft in half the time and make twice the money. Now, I am going to get a bit tactical here, and some of this is going to be high level, some of it is going to be tactical. But here's the thing: there are tools available which, when combined with the expertise to use them, will allow you to do that same work in half the time and bring twice as much value to your client if, in fact, you are one of those professionals. If you are an Infusionsoft user rather than a professional, then again, good news is that these same tools that I'm going to talk about are going to allow you to also do the same work in half the time. But in your case, rather than bringing twice as much value to your client, you get to make twice as much profit. So either way, that's a good thing. Half the work or twice the work in half the time is always a good thing. So let's talk about how we do that, the secret to doing that. Really, for me, I think there are two things that really help us in this area. This first one is to take advantage of tools. And what do I mean by tools? Well, there are productivity tools. There are best of breed integrations, which I talked about, automation tools and campaign builder tools. So let's talk about those very quickly. So when I'm talking about productivity tools, these can be as simple as things like I have 3 tools that I use inside Campaign Builder all the time. They're actually little things on my Mac. But I use them probably 500 times a day, and yeah, they save maybe 100 characters here or 2 seconds there, but over time these things add up. So for what I'm talking about would be things like a text expander for things that you type over and over and over again. Even something so simple as my app name. All I've got to do is type HFF and then the rest of my Infusionsoft app name expands, right? Again, silly, but I have probably 300 of those text snippets that I expand all the time, right? Just to save myself time. So those are what clip menus. Another one, it allows you to go back and get 20 things that you've copied and pasted and just saves little things, save lots of time. So that's what I mean by productivity tools. Just some things that, and I have lists of those productivity tools, by the way. But the second thing is best of breed integrations. And this is hard because honestly, it takes a lot of research and a lot of staying up on, who has the new apps in the marketplace and which ones work well and which ones are tied to Infusionsoft. But we use these all the time. Obviously, it's always going to be more effective to use something that somebody has written. And I can't tell you how often I am surprised that when I think something doesn't exist and I go out and look and I find that it does. ClickFunnels is my latest example of that. By the way, the process that you used to sign up for this webinar, that all of those pages that you signed up through, those were ClickFunnels, which were absolutely beautiful. I've never had people write me emails before telling me how much they loved the sign up process, and I had multiple of those. Not to mention, we had something like an 89% when all was said and done. 89% of people who went to our webinar registration page actually registered. That was our conversion rate on that page. I'd call that a best of breed integration. So there's another tip for you. Take a look at ClickFunnels if you're still using lead pages or you have funnels and you're not using them. In terms of automation tools, things like Zapier and If This Then This are examples of automation tools when there is no integration or you need a simple one. And then, of course, our very own personal favorite, which is Pocket Developer, which is what we're talking about when we talk about campaign builder tools. For those of you who don't know, Pocket Developer is our suite of plugins that we have created in order to expand or extend Infusionsoft's Campaign Builder. It's our way of taking all those can'ts and turning them into can. So in fact, I think what I may do is show you that here in just a minute. So the other thing besides taking advantage of tools, and this is where it starts to get big. Okay, this is where the sorts of things that I was just telling you about, this is how you start to do them. And that is by accessing the rest of Infusionsoft. The rest of Infusionsoft. What do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. Most of us, because of the way Infusionsoft is built, and specifically the campaign builder, where most of us spend most of our time, the way it is built is it is contact centric. And so, yeah, we put data in companies and referrers and appointments and notes and tasks and opportunities and orders and all of those things. We set all of those things up. But the fact of the matter is, Campaign Builder itself really doesn't work well with any of those things because there's no merge field capability within all of those things. And that's what I mean by the rest of Infusionsoft, right? So in order to really solve problems for yourself or your customer and to create those world-class campaigns that command world-class fees because you found world-class profits, then you've got to be able to get to these things and actually use them within your campaigns. So I am going to show you a couple of examples of what I mean, just to give you, I don't want you to get hung up on the mechanics of it or Pocket Developer. That's not the point. What I really want you to understand is the power of being able to access the rest of Infusionsoft. Because when I told that guy, the copier dealer, yeah, no problem, I can track all of that information in the order and I can run automations off of it straight from the order. Doesn't matter even if you've sold 30 pieces of equipment into that same contact, we can deal with that. This is how we do it. This is how we do it, by being able to use other things. So let me do that. I'm going to show you, if I can, just a little quick demo. Two different things. So let me move my screen over. Oh, you don't want to see that. Yeah. Okay, here we go. So Kim demo. So I'm just going to pop over here to one of my demo campaigns and show you this. So we're going to show you two things down here. Two different, and I'm going to make this bigger. Oops, so that you can see it. Drag, Kim. There you go. Okay, so these are the two things I want to show you right here. These are the two examples. So just to give you a sense of what is possible, ignore all that stuff. That's all other ones. So I break one of Paul Sokol's primary campaign building rules here, which is to starting a campaign with a tag. But for demos, it's easier to do it that way. So the idea here in this first demo is this. We want to send we've got this contact Drita dog. Drita has appointments, right? You can see that in the past, she had a consulting call on the 22nd. On the 25th, she has an appointment with Santa Claus. And then on the 7th, she has a lunch and learn. Now, what we want to be able to do is, again, this is data that typically is locked up. There's nothing we can do with this data in Infusionsoft. However, what I'm going to show you as a demo is I'm going to show you that we have the ability within Campaign Builder using our Pocket Developer plugins to find the next appointment. In this case, we could find whatever we want, but in this case, just find the next appointment, get that date, turn it into a pretty date that is stored. Actually, did you know that appointments and notes and tasks have custom fields? So do opportunities and orders and other things. Most people don't because they never use them, because there's no point in using them because you can't get the data out of them. But we are going to actually store a pretty version of the date in there, and then we're going to use email, and we're actually going to email that date and appointment reminder from the data right out of the appointment. So here's what that looks like. This is the first demo. So what happens is when this runs, the first thing it does is we have a custom field in the appointment, right? In the appointment record, which is called pretty date, and we have another one which is called pretty time. In fact, let me show you that just so that you understand what we're talking about here. So here, custom fields, pretty date, pretty time, okay? Appointment has custom fields also. And what we're going to do is we are going to write a pretty date and a pretty time into that field based on the date which is in the appointment itself. So based on, like in this case, 12/25/2014 and 11:45 p.m., we're going to write a pretty date. What's a pretty date? A pretty date is something, instead of like an ugly Infusionsoft date format, which is how it stores dates, we're going to write December 25th. And we're going to write something like, 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in some nice format that you would want to merge into an email. And we're going to store that with the appointment. Okay. And then we're going to wait a minute. Okay. Oops. Come over here. We're going to wait 1 minute. And then we're going to send an email, which actually merges in appointment reminder email, which actually merges in that data. And this is actually the email template that we use. Now, I don't want anyone to freak out over this, okay? However, we have created the way we do this. You may be going, well, how the heck do they do this? Well, so we've created our own merge field notation. Here is Infusionsoft's standard merge notation. Everyone's familiar with that, and it is very limited in what it can do. So we have created this massive library of merge field notation that allows us to go get whatever we want. So contact action is actually what Infusionsoft refers to as for a note, a task, or an appointment. And here's our underscore pretty date, that's notation that should be fairly familiar to you. That means it's a custom field called pretty date. It just happens to be in an appointment, not in a contact record or a company record. And then we have this notation called .next, which says, but find the one that's next, right? The next action date, which is the next date. And so anyway, find the next pretty date and put it in there on the subject line. And then I've just, whipped this up just to show it to you. So then it says, just wanted to remind you of our appointment on, and again, our notation, right? Contact action underscore pretty date next, and contact action pretty time next. And we just put this in this is a standard email template from Infusionsoft. And then the magic is that Pocket Developer figures all this stuff out and makes it happen. So if, for example, I was to do this, and I'm going to, with Drita Dog, just so that you can see it, and then while it's running, I'm going to fire this with a tag, and that tag is make task, I believe. And so I'm just going to fire that and let that run. In a second, we'll get an email, and I'll show that to you. And I'll also show it to you in the appointments. But while we're doing that, I just want to show you this other demo. So this is kind of what the guy that the copier dealer was wanting and needing. Only this is a super dead simple example of it, but still, it's just to give you an idea. So here, what happens is, imagine that that our copier dealer sold a something to somebody, right? We have a purchase goal. And so then what we're going to do is we're just going to go to the order and we're going to set the expiration date of their lease in the order. Now, in this case, again, don't get too worried about the fact that we're using this post and it has this weird stuff in it. But what we're doing is we're just taking a date called today, we're adding a year to it, and we are putting it in the order in a custom field called demo custom date field. Because again, in case you don't know, there are in fact custom fields in orders. Why would you know, since you can't typically use them? Here's all of Drita's orders for dog bones. And if we go over here, here is our demo custom date fields. Here are some other custom fields in here. So you can store data in so many different places than where you're storing it right now. The problem is we just don't. Those are wasted completely because we've never been able to get to them. And now, right, well, one of my ways, when the people came to me and started saying, Kim, I need this, Kim, I need that, and we were doing the same things over and over and over again. And rather than saying I can't, or I can't, this is going to be really expensive, I can, but this is going to be really expensive, right? We developed this way of doing it within the Campaign Builder so that we could do it for people quickly, right? Because used to we would have had to sit and write code for all of this, and it cost a lot of money and it took us a lot of time. But now you can do these things once you learn this, how to do it. You can do it really, really, really fast. And I want you to really think about the possibility and the potential when all of a sudden all of these things are opened up to you. Right? All of this data and the ability to do with it whatever you want, as if it was just sitting in a contact record. Imagine how many of you have ever made a campaign, and I won't hold it against you because we've all had to do it at one point or another, where you have to, shame on us, make duplicate contact records because you have, multiple things happening with the same contact, and the only way you can solve it is by making duplicate contact records, which is just criminal, insane, but that was the only way to solve it until now. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you the example of that. And I should probably show you really quickly if I go back to Drita here. And now if we look at her, what did I do? Her appointment, right? So let's find her appointment with Santa, which should have run by now. So here's her appointment with Santa. So you can see here's the pretty date, December 25th. Here's the pretty time, 11:45 p.m. And let's see if I've gotten an email. I have right here at the top. See this one? So here's the email from the merge field that we sent. API guys, your appointment is on December 25th. And, right, just wanted to remind you of our appointment on December 25th, 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys, this is a standard email template from Infusionsoft sent out of Campaign Builder that is grabbing this data from an appointment, not from a contact record. You get the idea? So this is what I mean when I say, and I will go back over here to my my presentation here. This is what I mean when I say access to the rest of Infusionsoft. That's how the top 1%ers build campaigns that allow them to really bring huge value for their clients and charge world-class fees to go along with it. Okay, so access the rest of Infusionsoft. Now, since I've done that, right, I know I'm just going to like totally break the whole mold, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing too, right? I know, like I think I was very clear, because I like to be and transparent, that I was going to talk about our course where we teach all of this in this webinar. And normally, right, when you do a webinar like this, you hold that to the very end, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to talk about the API, the Art of Campaign Building Mastery course now, and then I'll go back to the content. And the reason is because I just showed you that I feel like this is a better place to talk about the course, and then we'll go back and talk about some learning some other things. Now, I just to make sure you're aware, I still have that big secret to share with you. In fact, I have two. Well, no, I have one, but it's the big one. It's that one word that is the key to earning more money, and I'm going to get to that after the Q&A. I'm saving the best for last. But again, since you just saw my super simple little examples, I thought this would be a good place to talk to you about the Art of Campaign Building Mastery course. So I'm going to do that really, really fast. Really fast. So the Mastery course, what is it? Well, the course is designed to give you all of the tools, the skills, and the strategies so that you can do these things. These are my course objectives. When you walk out of this course, what I want for you is that you should be able to double your fees. You should be able to do the same work in half the time. Not every time, not every single, but a lot of the time, right? And in general, yes, that you should be able to charge for value rather than trading time for money, and that you should be able to say yes to jobs that you used to have to turn down or refer. That is key. And ideally, that you are, because of everything that I just said, that you're able to choose to only do work that excites you. That would be the ideal scenario. Now, just the easiest way for me to talk about this is, and by the way, please, write down any questions that you have for when we get to the Q&A section, is I'm just going to go straight to the page on our website that explains this course, and I'm just going to run through it really, really fast because that's the fastest way to do it. By the way, the link for that is the apiguys.com/mastery if you are looking for that. Now, here's our course summary, which I just spoke with you about. So couple things that are important. This is a live online course. I am teaching this course myself. It is 20 plus hours of training from me, spread over a 2-week period. It is, I will just tell you, it is primarily aimed at Infusionsoft professionals, but it does not mean that power users will not benefit tremendously from it. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. So don't feel like, oh, well, I don't work on Infusionsoft for a living, therefore this course is not for me. Nope. Again, just the way it's primarily designed. There are a number of things included with the course, which you can read here, but I think this is a key one. Copies of all the campaigns that are used in the course transferred to your app. Now that we have this nifty new campaign transfer capabilities, we're going to be giving you every campaign that I do in the course. But in order to do that, we have to have a partner seat, and you have to show up to class in order to get those. That's the incentive for you to show up to class. We will, record all of the sessions. I'm going to, and you will have access to those as well. I am going to give you my secret list, which is a list of like 100 different tools and programs and applications that I think are fabulous and that we use on a almost daily basis here at the API Guys. 2 bonus Q&A sessions. You can read about that. One Ask Me Anything session. Significant discount on our Puck Developer Suite if you want it. 3 hours of Puck Developer Premium support. You can repeat the course for free. And then access to our referral program. Now, one thing I will say about this, by the way, is this course is not 100% Pocket Developer all the time. Obviously, because Pocket Developer enables us to do so many of the amazingly cool things that we do, we are going to cover Pocket Developer in many cases, but it's not all Pocket Developer. So don't feel like, oh, well, if I attend this course and I don't buy Pocket Developer, then I'm not going to be able to use anything that's taught in this course. That is not going to be the case at all. I'm going to let you read that all for yourself. Here's what I want to talk about. Here's our course syllabus. Day 1. Now, oh, by the way, does it say this? So it's down below. The schedule is, these are 2 to 3 hour sessions that start at 5 o'clock p.m. and go every day for 2 weeks, every weekday for 2 weeks. Okay, so here's day 1, introduction and setting our intention. Day 2 is campaign builder, like you've never seen it before, how to overcome the shortcomings of campaign builders. Campaign building the API guys way. We have our own way of doing that, the Crackerjack Campaign Builders Toolbox. We're going to spend day 3 on forms. When you get done with this, you're going to be able to make forms, both the web kind and the order kind, do backflips. We'll cover third-party forms like Jotform and Gravity Forms and other things as well, Ninja Forms, saving submitted files to Filebox, JavaScript jQuery, those sorts of things. Pseudo goals, what the heck is that? That's one of those things we invented. That's where we have the ability to make goals like that trigger on a new when a new contact is created, or a new appointment, or a new referral, or a new order or opportunity, when those things are either added or updated, or when a field is changed to a specific value. You can't do that right now in Campaign Builder without Pocket Developer. These are all, I will tell you, this is all Pocket Developer right there. Delays and timers. We're going to give you a couple of really big twists on delays and timers, including some time zone hacks, using fields and other record types to trigger actions, which I just showed you. We're going to do a day on emails. We're going to show you all kinds of crazy tricks with emails, including not just sending them out, but parsing incoming emails to either trigger something or put that info into Infusionsoft. Events and appointments, opportunities, which, by the way, opportunities are like the most underused thing in Infusionsoft. Once you can get the data out of them, we find ourselves going to opportunities as our solution so often. And so I'm going to give you 10 new and different ways to use opportunities besides just a sales funnel, because it's not just for a sales funnel. It's useful for any sort of a linear process that you can think about. Day 9 is back office automation. Welcome to ROI Heaven. I spoke about this in the Business Builder webinar that I did a couple weeks ago for the partners. This is where you find it. We're going to cover automated contracts as well as using Zapier and IFTTT. And then on the last day, I'm going to put it all together, and I'm actually going to show you the campaign that you went through in order to get here tonight, plus 2 bonus Q&A sessions. We have 100% money back guarantee. Won't spend time on that, other than it's just no hoops, no hassles, no hard feelings. And then the last thing is the price. So this is actually, even as we've sat here, is now no longer accurate. I believe this is now 5 seats left at this discounted $750 price. Now, I will tell you that if you want these, so there's 50 seats total. We have already sold almost 30 of those. And I suspect, as I said, this was the most people I've ever had on a webinar in my entire 12 years of doing webinars, which is awesome, you guys. I'm so thankful for that. So anyway, you can read between the lines there. I will tell you, if I do this again, and I probably will, it's going to be many times this in price. It will never, ever, ever, ever be near this $1,000 price again, ever. And you can see why. Hopefully you understand that the value that you're going to get from that is, especially with a money back guarantee, is far greater than the $1,000 that we're offering it for this one time, because it's the first time you get the benefit of that. So that's it. That's the course. So I'm going to get back to our presentation. And if you have any questions about that, by the way, put those, we'll put those in the question box when we get to the Q&A section, and you can ask me about those or anything else you'd like to ask about. Okay, and before I forget, I did say, oh, you guys, sweet, not so many seats left anymore. I just happen to have my phone in front of me. Okay, so I did say in the emails that I sent all of you guys that I would give away free Pocket Developer plugins for any of you who attended tonight. So those of you who are listening to this recording, not for you. Sorry about that. This is only for those of you who attended tonight. So that was, you made it here, you're going to get the benefit. So here's how you get your free Pocket Developer plugin. And it's a little bit of shameless self-promotion, I admit, but here's what it is. To get your plugin, you have to go to our Facebook page, the API Guys, before midnight tomorrow night, midnight our time, Eastern time. You have to tell me which Pocket Developer plugin you want and why. And then we'll reach out to you early next week to tell you how to claim your free plugin. You have to tell me the why, though. You can't just put, oh, I want email anyone anytime. I want to know why. And if you want to know where you can find the list of all of our Pocket Developer plugins that you can choose from, this is the link. It's the AP. It's just click Pocket Developer. It's anywhere on our site. You see Pocket Developer, it'll take you here. Each one of these, sorry, you guys, like you can't have the Power User Suite for free, by the way. But any of the other plugins, right? These are all $347 a piece. Here's Email Anyone Anytime. That's the one that did the email merge that I just showed you. So any of these that you would like for free, you get one. So just let me know which one you want on our Facebook page, and we'll get you hooked up with that. All right. And that's my way of thanking you for being here tonight. Okay. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. No, here's what I'm going to do. Before I tell you the most important secret, I want to just cover whatever questions that you guys have up to this point. So we have probably 10-15 minutes that I could take questions baked in here. So if you have them, now is the time to post them, and I will try to answer them. So let me start here. Okay, let's see. Okay. So Martha says, where do we have the productivity list? I would love to see what you use. Well, so a lot of that is on our website. If you go to the APIguys.com, let me see if I can do this for you. If you go to the APIguys.com, and if you go, well, I can't get to it right this second, but if you go to the Learning Center, so up in the top right in the navigation, go to the Learning Center, and in any of those pages in the sidebar, or actually in the footer of any page, also it'll say tools we use. And that has a list of some of the tools that we like and that we use. It's not as comprehensive as the secret list that I'm going to give out to the attendees of the mastery course, but it has a lot of them. We really I'll just tell you, I love tools. I love gadgets. Any of my people who work at the API Guys will tell you, like, we're trying a new app every day, almost, it seems like. But for me, that's part of helping get to CAN for my clients. I have to know how these things work and which ones work best, so that when I recommend them, I know I'm recommending something good. So I like these things. I play with them a lot, and I would start there, and hopefully that will get you started in the right direction. And if you want more, well, never mind. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Okay, some comments. Okay, Barb, I'm not quite positive I understand your question. Do we get the library of merge fields as part of the course? So you can clarify, but I think what you're saying, so the merge fields, those are just Infusionsoft fields, obviously. What we have done in Pocket Developer is we have created this advanced merge field notation. That's our name for our notation, which allows us to do those little tilde brackets and get to other fields besides just the ones that Infusionsoft gives you, as well as all kinds of other crazy things. If you want to see all the things you can do with our advanced merge field notation, go to the Quick Start Guide in the Learning Center. But you can get counts and maxes and mins and filter and search and do all kinds of crazy things. But anyway, so the answer is the ability to do that comes in Pocket Developer. That is Pocket Developer functionality. So if you take the mastery course, you're going to get a significant discount, and I do mean significant, on the Pocket Developer suite if you so choose. But you'll get a lot out of, as you saw, you'll get a lot out of the course, even if you don't ever decide to go forward with the Pocket Developer stuff. And even if you know, if you go to the course, because you'll know how to use it and what you can do, you might not have a need for it right now, but then you may be working with a client and then you'll be able to go, oh, this is exactly what we talked about in class. I know Pocket Developer can do that, and then later down the road. But then, of course, you won't have Pocket Developer at the discount. So anyway, we can talk about that in the course. But I think that's what you're asking, that merge field notation that is Pocket Developer. Okay. So fairly new to Infusionsoft. I have one client. But is it too early for me to try and learn such advanced techniques? Is this too advanced? Any other courses you'd recommend for more intermediate students? Okay, so here's what I would say, Martha. This is very definitely, and I say this on the course page, for intermediate and up users of Infusionsoft. If you are one of those people who is just like, really your brain works this way and you grasp all of this stuff immediately and really quickly you can make, spaghetti campaigns, then, even though you haven't been using it for a long time, then maybe you would find, you would want to take the course. But I would say it is not appropriate for beginner users. People who really, if how do I say this? If really what you're comfortable with doing are kind of setting up like basic funnels and really just the very most basic functionality of Infusionsoft, you really probably want to get some more learning under your belt first. And my best recommendations is Infusionsoft itself does tremendous training in their Infusionsoft University, which is great. Their videos, their online video library is great. The user's guide is great. And all of those things, plus perhaps just some experience under your belt, will get you to a point where, if you're so inclined, that this would be appropriate later down the road. Now, what I will say is if you are not certain, you're like, well, I think I'm pretty advanced, but what if I'm not? And it's going to be over my head. And that's where I would say, you know what? Don't worry about that. If you think you can do it, then come, you sign up, because there is that money back guarantee. And I'm really serious about that, right? I want people to at least be able to not be afraid to expand their horizons and their skills. So if you think it might be for you, go ahead and do it. If it's not, no worries. Just let me know, right? At some point in the future, maybe you'll come back. That's what that money back guarantee is there for, right? So hopefully that helped answer that question. Okay, good. I didn't know that. Good. 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 Yeah, awesome. Oh, Jen, so why shouldn't we start a campaign with a tag? You know what? I don't know. I do. Paul Sokol, if you've ever been in through any of Paul Sokol's campaign training, and by the way, so this goes back to Martha's question, and if you hit me up, I'll point you to it. Paul Sokol did a mastermind some months ago and he's done one for our VA group as well, and I think he's done it in a couple different places, but like his 10 commandments of campaign building, which is really great. I learned I learned a lot of things in that. Just really made me think about how we build campaigns and the idea of flat campaigns and so forth. And Paul is the Infusionsoft campaign builder ninja guru dude. And so I would really suggest that if you want to, want to learn more, there's a free resource that's really, really good. And in it, he says you should never start a campaign with a goal. Now, he didn't say why. I think it's a philosophical thing. I think he assumes that tag goals should be somewhere in the middle. And I don't know, but anyway, I will tell you, I do more often than you would actually think, and that's because I don't like to use broadcasts. I actually like to start my campaigns that are email related by putting the emails in the campaign itself, and then I have, and I'm going to teach this in the class. It's actually a hack that Tyler put out in his 12 hacks of Christmas, but we've been using it, and it's how to trigger a tracking when someone opens your email, and then apply a tag, even though it's a campaign email, not a broadcast. So anyway, that's just the way I do it. I don't know why he says that. Maybe we should send him an email and just ask him for more clarification on that. Let's see. So Don, so am I correct in understanding that you're not using up custom fields using the strategies you just showed? Bingo, huge point. Yes, I may be using custom fields in the opportunities or the order or the appointment or the note or the all of the company or all the other places. They have also, each one of those has 100 custom fields themselves, but we are not using the contact custom fields, which is huge, 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 huge. Yes, you understood that correctly. No, Rebecca wants to know how does she get her plugin public or private message on Facebook? Oh, I shouldn't say no. Public, please, because that is a absolutely, blatant ploy for some social media love, Rebecca. And so if you put it on there in private, then nobody is going to see it, right? They're not going to see my blatant ploy. Are the advanced merge fields available to any or all Pocket Developer mods? They are not available to all, Laura. Advanced merge field is only available to those $347 plugins, the ones that we call our core plugins. Am I saying that right? Yes. And so any of the other ones that are other colors besides yellow, they don't have advanced merge field notation, but most of them don't have it because they don't need it, actually. But truth be told, any those yellow plugins, the core plugins, like you could launch a spaceship with those. Is the PD any date, any format, anywhere the one you were using earlier today in my demo? Yes, Terry, it is. That's the one that I used to create the pretty dates. And then I used email anyone to send the email, and you didn't see it, but there was later in that sequence, there was a universal delay timer that was going to send the email a year from now based on the expiration date of the lease in the order custom field. So those were the three that were in that demo. Yay, Deb. If we purchase Pocket Developer Suite, can it be used in multiple apps such as your clients? Yes, Darcy, it can, which is one of the reasons that I did it the way I did. So there is, in fact, in our Learning Center, a how-to on how to move it and use it and configure it for multiple apps. So you can just follow the instructions for that. Let's see, Rebecca. Most of my campaigns are started with goals, and I've been using Infusionsoft for 8 years. Well, yeah, they're all. So I'm not sure of what the comment is, because they're all going to start with goals. That's how a campaign has to start. Paul's point was he, for whatever reason, doesn't think you should start them with a tag goal. He thinks you should start them with something else, like an order, an email, a form being filled out, or a link clicked in an email, email or a purchase being made or something like that. Oh, good. Deb Hanchy uses Campaign Builder for broadcast too. Glad to know that I'm not the only one. Deadline for Free Pocket Developer is tomorrow at midnight Eastern Standard Time. You are Cheryl. You can have any plugin on the page except for the Power User Pack, which is like 9 plugins. You can't have that one. But any single plugin on the page is yours for the asking. All you have to do is go tell me why you want that one on our Facebook page. Okay. Oh wow, you guys have been reading. Russell, with the option to purchase the Power User Suite on this course, it mentions new plugins released in the next 3 months. Are you able to give us an idea of the cool new ones on the way, or is that secret squirrel for the moment? Russell, you and I are going to get along really well. I love that. Do you know I live on Squirrel Road? No lie. And I live in a little tiny small town in South Carolina where they misspelled the word squirrel on my road, so it has 2 L's on the end of it. So I live on Squirrel Road. It's not that way on Google Maps, but it is on on the street sign. So my husband, when he created our newest company, he has a really dry sense of humor. The name of our new company is Add an L, for the extra L on Squirrel Road. Anyway, that's a little diversion. So yeah, we have a lot of cool things that are here are 2 of the coolest ones that are coming. One is our universal listener. So the universal listener, you'll notice that right now we have like pseudo goals for new contact, new order, new referral, new whatever. The universal listener is basically with one single plugin going to be able to listen for new things, as well as if a field has been updated or changed, or a record has been updated, and fire when that happens. So that's our universal listener. Which is going to be amazing. I can't wait for that. And that's close. And then another one that we're working on, in fact, I may release even like a free-ish version first of our GeoIP plugin, which finds city, state, country, IP address, and time zone, and stores all of those for you off of a form. So that one's coming. Those are the only ones I can think. Like, I have a huge, by the way, our roadmap is public. If you go to Trello, the roadmap for Pocket Developer is public, and there's like 30 or so on there. Just haven't gotten to those yet. Okay, let's see. What plugin would be okay? I got to get going here. I'm going to go over what plugin would be best to optimize a free sample hard goods shipped, mainly for sample consumption follow-up. I tell you what, Mark, on that one, because I'm not sure I can answer that right off the top of my head. If you want to send me like more details about what you're trying to do, I will tell you which plugin would be best. I started to say which husband would be best because Deb's next question is that her husband calls her squirrel. So that's very, oh my gosh, look at you, Deb. That's funny. I won't read the rest of her comment. But anyway, which plugin would be best, Mark? Just shoot me an email and I'll try to give you my best recommendation on that. Cool. All right, I'm gonna go on to the big secret because I've got only very little time left. Thanks, you guys, for your awesome questions. I appreciate all of that. All right, so moving on, the big secret. Here we go. Come on, slides advance. Whoops, go back. Oh man, I just killed my good headline. So here we go. The big secret, the one word that is key to earning more money and becoming one of the top 1%ers is this word, value. Okay, value. Now, here's what I mean by this. Here's the definition of a fee. If you have, in order to understand value, we have to start here. A fee is easy for me to say, remuneration provided in return for perceived value received. This is really important. Notice I underlined the word perceived. Okay. Now, everyone has a tendency to be a little bit squeamish about fees. So let's talk about that, okay? First of all, here are the mistakes, if I may be so blunt, that consultants make. And by the way, for those of you who are users, this is lifting the covers back a little bit, but I think this is still going to be valuable for you because probably you're selling anyway. You're just not selling Infusionsoft services. So this all still applies to you, whether you're selling Mark, what were you selling? Hardwood or Jen Camps or whatever, right? All still applies. These are the mistakes that we tend to make. Number one, trading time for money. What I mean by that is what many consultants will do is they will figure out what they need to make in order to pay the bills each month or each year. They'll divide that by the number of hours available and use that to come up with their fee. That is a terrible way of doing business. That is trading time for money, and that is the worst trade in the world. Number two is failing to understand that perceived value, that underlined word, perceived value, is the basis of the fee. And then so what they do is they attempt to manage the fee lower rather than manage or raise the value higher. That is mistake number two. And by the way, here's something very important. Anyone who sits on a call with me and my clients understands and knows this is true. Value is often a function of not agreeing with your prospect or your client, not being supportive, not being a yes person. The question when you're talking about value and the value that you bring to your client, paradoxically, is how willing are you to disagree or to question their basic premises and say, you know what? If I use my original story, keeping sugar and Infusionsoft running and synced in tandem is a terrible idea. And let me tell you, because I'm an expert, what the better solution is. And to say that with absolute supreme confidence because you are the expert. Next mistake is failing to translate the importance of your advice into benefits, long-term gains for the client, so that in their perception, and then because you can't translate that benefit or value for the client, you therefore believe that you have to base your value on deliverables, time and materials, which are commodity items, and that's never a good thing. So that inability to translate value for the client. So by the way, and again, this is something I discussed in my Biz Builder webinar I did the other day for partners. You have to be prepared to discuss value with the buyer very early, prior to discussing, widgets and methods and options and Pocket Developer this or custom field that or timing or heaven forbid fees, right? You need to find value, and you need to mutually find that, you and the client together, right? And in a mutually productive way. And then the last one, if I may be so bold, is, failing to have the courage and the belief system that supports the high value that you are delivering to the client, and you therefore reduce your fees to a level commensurate with your own low self-esteem. And I know that's kind of harsh, but the fact is I see that happening over and over and over again, that consultants are in fact the main cause of low consulting fees, not the client, and that you just have to have the courage and the belief in yourself and in your skills and in the value that you bring in order to support the fees. And when I say high fees, by the way, let's just be clear what I'm saying. I am saying fees which are commensurate with the value being delivered to the client. We're not talking about just getting more money for less value. We are talking about charging, knowing how to provide value that only the 1%ers can provide, that in such a way that your client is happy to pay you those fees because you are in fact making meaningful contributions to their business, right? And acting as a partner in that regard. So that's what I mean by value. Now let's talk about positioning and how to position yourself in order to provide that higher perceived value. So a couple questions for you here for you to consider, right? And by the way, I will tell you, that I am by no means perfect in this regard, right? And we are working on all of these things alongside you. In fact, I have to say, well, let me go through these and then I'll tell you. So first question is your image consistent with the value that you provide? Because if not, you will never get paid full fee because the buyer sees a Toyota, not a Mercedes. And perception matters. Now, so I started to say, by the way, for the longest time, I was of the, I've built a very I've started 9 companies. I built one of them very big, number 826 on the Inc. 500 list, and still own it, and it's an investment firm, and we managed at one point or consulted on $500 million of people's retirement funds. So of course, when they came into our offices needed to look nice, right? They're trusting us with their retirement funds. We had to be wearing suits and blah 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 blah, right? And big fancy office tower. But in this business, I was initially convinced that we didn't have to do that, because now it's free agent nation, and everybody, after all, my barn, my office is in my barn, but now more and more I'm actually coming back to this idea that nope, you know what? I mean, we're starting to invest money in phone systems that are real phone systems, not people using their cell phones. Those of you that are my clients on the call, you're like, I'm lifting the kimono up a little bit, but because image consistent with value is important. Just because, look, we are people and we take heuristic shortcuts in order to assess value, and perception matters. Number 2 question: are you building a brand and cementing your position as an expert? And I will say that I actually got this from Alan Weiss, who is one of my fellow members of the National Speakers Association, and he always talks about this. He says you can't start this too early, and you can never stop doing it. Right? Are you building a brand and cementing your position as an expert? And by the way, so this was his saying. He says there is actually only one thing better than a buyer being impressed by you and respecting you on site, and that is the buyer that's impressed by you and respecting you before ever laying eyes on you, right? And that's what building that position, that brand and expert position is all about. Number 3, do your skills allow you to bring value commensurate with the fees that you want to charge? It ain't bragging if you can back it up. Dizzy Dean said that. And number 4, intellectually, are you able to interact and even push back to demonstrate value in those earliest meetings with clients and potential clients? Those are the questions that you have to be asking yourself about how to position yourself over time in order to become one of those top 1%ers. So what does it mean to be a top 1%er? It means, to me, this is my definition, because I'm came up with this concept of the top 1%er for this class, and to me, it's someone who has the total package. You have the brand, you have the skills, most important, because a brand doesn't, will crumble if you don't have the skills, and you have the self-esteem in order to recognize and get paid for the value that you bring, and therefore earn more money in less time with less effort. So when you finally get to the point when someone says, oh my gosh, something is broken, we have a problem, get me Jane Johnson, right? No, not find me a consultant, go to the marketplace, get me Jane Johnson, right? Because we've heard this Jane Johnson is the expert in this thing. That's when you're a top 1%er, and that is what you are trying to do. And in order to do that, you have to believe in your own value, and you have to build your perceived value and in demonstrable ways every single day. So, okay, off we go. So I'd like to close by saying that if I can help you in achieving that, to the extent that is something that you want to achieve, it would be an honor and a privilege for me. So if as I'm talking about this is at all exciting to you, then I hope you're going to sign up for the mastery course, so that we can all work together to build that community that I'm kind of dreaming of an aspiring group of professionals who are dedicated to building that demonstrable perceived value to our clients. So I went a little bit over, but my contact information is there, so you can hit me up with any questions that you have. You guys, I really, again, thank you so much for being here and asking such great questions. And thanks for being here this evening, and good night.